Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy Boulanger. Up next, 4 under the radar players, hidden gems that the Baltimore Ravens are going to need in 2025. Let's talk. In the previous video, I gave you 3 offensive players, guys we know but don't really talk about a whole lot, that I thought that the Baltimore Ravens will need them to shine in order for us to get to the ultimate goal of a Super Bowl. I think there are 4 players defensively that are kind of under the radar, hidden gem types that we know of course, but we don't have high expectations for them in 2025. But of course, in order to get to Santa Clara 26, we're going to need them. So let's get into it. The first player I want to mention is a guy that I have been hard on, and probably you could say justly I've been hard on, is David Ojabo. I think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to need him this season in a big way. Not because of injuries necessarily, but because it only is a 5-man rotation right now. When he comes in relief, they're going to need him to show those explosive plays we've seen. In his career, he has about 5 notable plays. His very first was a strip sack fumble on Joe Burrow. Does every play he make this season have to be a strip sack fumble? Nope. When he comes in relief, we're going to need to see his power and his explosiveness. We're going to need to see a motor and an ability to close out a sack. That's what we're going to need to see. In fact, I'm going to go crazy and say that David Ojabo is going to have 4 to 6 sacks this season. I know that's a high number for a guy who may not get a whole lot of minutes, but what I'm saying is that we're going to need his impact. Every guy who gets on the field this season in rotation is going to need to have an impact. And I think David Ojabo has a skill set who could get him on the field in a 3rd and long, a guy who just has to give you 2 plays in a series to close out a drive. And I think David Ojabo needs to do that. I think we need him to do that. And I think because he's in the final year of a contract, he has not made a whole lot of money just yet. I think that he's going to need to validate the Baltimore Ravens keeping him around. And I think you see him step up this season and he ends up with 4 to 6 sacks. We're going to need that from David Ojabo. Don't think I'm crazy just yet, but we're going to need that. The second player I think that we're going to need to see something from is Trenton Simpson. Now, this is an obvious choice simply because he is the expected starter to play beside Roquan Smith. In year number 1, he sat behind Patrick Queen. In year number 2, he started but fell out of rotation because of poor play. In year number 3, he's had his best offseason. He has had his best training camp, and I think there's low expectations. See, last year there was high expectations that he would be able to replace Patrick Queen. I think this year expectations for Trenton Simpson are more measurable. And so all we need him to do is play his role. Be athletic, be fast, be quick to the ball, be decisive, and defend the pass as he was expected to be a good pass defender when he was drafted. That's all we need him to do. We don't need him to be a superstar. We don't need him to be Roquan 2.0. We just need him to be athletic. We don't even need him to be Patrick Queen. We just need him to be the better version of Trenton Simpson. I think that if he can come through with about 75 to 80 tackles, if he can come up with about 2 to 4 sacks and a good rate against the pass, he will have done his job. That will be adequate enough to keep him on the field. That will be adequate enough to keep us rolling as a defense. And so I think that's what we're going to need from Trenton Simpson. Again, I think he's under the radar only because his expectations are low at this point. I think he could be a hidden gem because we don't expect anything from him. So if he can exceed those low measurables, 75 tackles and 2 to 4 sacks, good pass defense, I think he would have done this job. A third player, I think, who is under the radar right now is Tavius Robinson. Although he's been talked about, although he's made some noise this training camp, I still think he's under the radar because we know that Calvin Noe is the starter, Odafe Oweh is the starter, and then Mike Green has gotten all the hype as the new addition to the team. But I think that Tavius Robinson, in his 3rd season, could be a key contributor, definitely against the run, but also in pass rush. See, because he's not expected to be a pass rusher per se, right? The attention is going to go to the other side of the field, whoever is over there. And so I think that if he can show a high motor and turn power into speed, now he's definitely strong and stout, but can he show a burst? I think that he'll have what they call a breakout season. We're going to need that from him. I think Tavius Robinson is going to come up with 4 to 6 sacks this season and probably another 40 to 50 tackles. That's a good number. Those are good numbers for a rotational piece, especially with the young guy, Mike Green, going to be taking some snaps from the other guys on this roster. So that's what we need from Tavius Robinson this season. And then last but not least, a guy who has had a great offseason, a great training camp, especially for what he did or did not do last season, is TJ Tampa. TJ Tampa has had an excellent offseason. He's been excellent in the preseason, and I think that we're going to need him in a big way during the season. We understand that ahead of him on the depth chart, so to speak, and I'm just going to name all the guys at corner versus just the position left corner or right corner or slot: Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, Jair Alexander, Chidobe Awuzie. Then you have TJ Tampa. And I think with the release of Jalyn Armour-Davis, he's going to be the guy who comes in clutch. I think he's an upgrade over Armour-Davis. He's bigger, more athletic than Armour-Davis, who now is in Tennessee. But I think that we're going to need him. Jair has some injury concerns. He's hurt even now. Awuzie has some injury concerns. So the next logical option is TJ Tampa. And I think based on what we've seen this offseason, he could absolutely be on the field with some regularity over the course of this season. I think that he ends up this season with an interception. I think that he ends up with a sack. And I think he ends up with a solid pass defense rate. And I think we're going to need that. I think we're going to need that early in the season. This season, we're going to face some heavy hitters as it pertains to wide receivers and quarterbacks. DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers twice. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Higgins twice. When you think about the Rams, you're coming with Puka and Devontae Adams. You're going to face off against Njigba out in Seattle. You're going to face off against DJ Moore in Chicago. There's probably some other wide receivers I'm not thinking of. You're going to face off against Jefferson in Minnesota. So there's a ton of competition that we're going to face off against. And I think that he'll be tested. And I think he'll come out pretty good because we're going to need him to. Again, this goal, these under the radar hidden gem type players, we're going to need them to step up because I think our depth will be tested in a big way this year. So those are my guys. You guys let me know who you guys think need to step up, need to break out, and need to show themselves approved. I'm your guy Boulanger, and until next time, I'm out.